I'm Kimberly Evans, 32 years old. Last night, my sister cornered me in our family kitchen back in the Atlanta suburbs, her eyes narrowing like she'd been holding this in for years. "You're not coming to my wedding," she said, that smirk twisting her lips as she leaned in close. "It's better without it." My phone was already buzzing in my hand, invites flying out to aunts, uncles, cousins, even distant relatives I'd barely spoken to in a decade. Everyone except me. Her $800,000 extravaganza in Miami, the one she'd bragged about for months, with celebrity chefs and flown-in florals, was off limits because my freelance writing gigs had started pulling in real attention. Articles in local mags, a viral piece on family secrets that got shared across the South suddenly. I was the one people noticed, and that burned her. I froze, the words hitting like a gut punch. But I didn't beg. Instead, I walked out, drove straight back to my Midtown apartment, and fired up my laptop. Hours blurred into the dawn as I poured it all out, a raw, unfiltered story about growing up in her shadow, the little digs, the favoritism that twisted our family inside out. I hit publish on my blog just before sunrise. No edits, no second thoughts. It wasn't about revenge. It was about finally saying my truth out loud. But when she turned on her phone that morning, scrolling through the chaos of her bridal prep, my story was already viral. Shares exploding, comments flooding in, strangers calling out the jealousy like it was their own fight. She thought she'd silenced me for her big day. Wrong. What happened next tore her perfect plans apart and left our family scrambling. If you've ever been iced out by the one person who should have your back, you know this fire stick around, because the fallout hits harder than you think. Before we jump in, if family jealousy stories like this fire you up, smash that like button and subscribe for more raw payback tales that hit home. Where are you watching from? And what's the time there? Let's see how this truth spreads. That smirk lingered in my mind as I drove home to Midtown Atlanta. The memories came rushing back, sharp and unfiltered. From our childhood in the suburbs where everything started. I was about 10, scribbling my first short stories in a notebook hidden under my bed, dreaming of sharing them with the world. One day, I left it out on the kitchen table, excited to show Mom and Dad. But when I came back, the pages were torn out, scattered like trash. My sister Tracy Evans stood there, her hands smeared with ink, claiming she needed the paper for her school project. "It's just scribbles," she said, her eyes daring me to fight back. Mom, Donna Evans, walked in and barely glanced at the mess. "Tracy's got a big presentation coming up," she said, patting Tracy's shoulder. "You can start over. Kimberly, it's not a big deal." Dad, Gary Evans, nodded from his chair, flipping through the newspaper. "Yeah. Help your sister out. Family first." They never asked why Tracy did it or made her apologize. Instead, they praised her creativity for recycling my work into her assignment, which won her a ribbon at school. That pattern repeated for years, my writing contests overshadowed by Tracy's drama club wins. My published poems dismissed because Tracy needed support after a bad grade. It wasn't accidents, it was deliberate. Tracy always finding ways to dim my light so hers could shine brighter. Years later, that same jealousy boiled over in our adult lives. After Tracy's call, I couldn't shake it. I paced my apartment, the city lights flickering outside like distant warnings. The phone rang again. "Mom," I answered, my voice steady despite the knot in my chest. "Kimberly, Tracy told us about the wedding," she said. Her tone clipped. "It's her day. You know how sensitive she is about attention." I gripped the phone tighter. Sensitive, she's the one who smirked and said it's better without me. Mom sighed, like I was the problem. "You're always making it about you. Tracy's worked hard for this. Just stay away and let her enjoy it. Before I could respond, Dad's voice cut in. They were on speaker. Listen to your mother. We've supported Tracy through everything. Don't ruin this for her. Supported her. They'd funneled money into her marketing career while telling me writing was a hobby. I ended the call, my hands shaking. But the real blow came next. Another ring, Rhonda Parker. Tracy's best friend since high school. I'd never liked her. She always amplified Tracy's digs. "Hey, Kim," she said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "Tracy mentioned the invite thing. Honestly, it's for the best. Your stories always steal the show at gatherings. Let her have this one." Her laugh grated like nails on a chalkboard. I hung up without a word, the pieces clicking into place. They weren't just excluding me, they were erasing me to protect Tracy's ego. Sitting on my couch, I stared at my laptop, the blank document waiting. Patrick Hayes, my boyfriend, walked in from work, dropping his keys on the table. He saw my face and sat beside me. "What happened?" I told him everything. The smirk, the calls, the coordinated attack. He listened, his jaw tightening. "They've done this your whole life. Time to flip the script." That's when it hit me. I wouldn't beg or fade away. I'd write the story, the real one, about growing up in that toxic shadow, the favoritism, the jealousy that poisoned everything, not for revenge, but to reclaim my voice. Patrick nodded, pulling up a chair. "Let's make it count. I'll help edit." We started outlining right there, turning my pain into something powerful. This wasn't just words. It was my way out. We dove into the outline, Patrick jotting notes on his phone while I typed furiously. The story needed structure, opening with that kitchen confrontation, then layering in the childhood betrayals, building to the wedding exclusion. "Make it relatable," he suggested, leaning over my shoulder. "Not just your pain, but the universal sting of family favoritism." I nodded, adding sections on how Tracy's jealousy manifested in subtle ways, like claiming credit for my early blog ideas during family dinners. By midnight, we had a draft ready for feedback. I reached out to my writer circle in Atlanta, 3 freelancers I'd met at local meetups, folks who'd built their careers from scratch without family safety nets. "Read this and tell me if it lands," I emailed, attaching the file. Their replies came fast. One said it captured the quiet rage perfectly. Another suggested tightening the emotional arcs to hit harder. We refined it over coffee the next afternoon at a midtown cafe, their input sharpening the edges without diluting the truth. Word spread quicker than I expected. A couple days in, my inbox pinged with an alert, Tracy's name tagged in a group chat screenshot from our extended family thread. Someone had leaked the draft outline I'd shared with a mutual contact. "Kimberly's writing some hit piece on Tracy," the message read, twisted into something venomous. I scrolled through the replies, aunts and cousins piling on with question marks and shocked emojis. Tracy hadn't wasted time. She'd spun it into a victim narrative. Then Rhonda jumped in. Her comment loaded, "Always knew Kim was bitter about Tracy's success. This is low, even for her." Bitter. I'd cheered Tracy's promotions while she ignored my bylines. Patrick saw the notification and pulled up my laptop. "Don't engage. Publish on your terms." But the pressure mounted when Mom called that evening. "What is this nonsense about a story?" she demanded, her voice echoing off my apartment walls. "Tracy's beside herself. You're stressing her out right before the wedding. Delete it now." I held the phone away, breathing deep. "It's my truth." "Mom." She excluded me. "Why can't I speak?" Dad chimed in from the background. "This isn't helping anyone. Think of the family image. Tracy's clients are high profile. One wrong word and it all crumbles." Family image. They'd always prioritized that over honesty. sweeping my hurts under the rug to keep appearances spotless. Rhonda didn't stop at comments. She started DMing my writer friends, probing for details under the guise of concern. Just checking if Kim's okay. One messaged me, forwarding the exchange. Rhonda asked about your rant and if you're spiraling. Spiraling, I was clearer than ever. Patrick traced the pattern Rhonda's account liking posts that shaded me. Her stories subtly shading the outline as fiction gone wrong. Nui? It felt like a coordinated watch, her feeding intel back to Tracy to preempt any release. I blocked the noise, focusing on the final polish. We added a call to action at the end, encouraging readers to share their own sibling rivalry tales, turning it from confession to conversation. By week's end, the piece was locked, scheduled for a quiet launch on my blog, but Tracy's circle kept circling. Rhonda's latest move, a veiled threat in a voice note to a shared contact. If this drops, it'll ruin everything for Tracy. Ruin it was already unraveling the facade they'd built around her. We hit send on the schedule, the post set to go live just hours before her rehearsal dinner. Patrick's hand on my back grounded me as we closed the laptop. This was bigger than one story, it was the start of owning my narrative. No matter the backlash brewing, Rhonda's tracking escalated fast, her posts turning into a full assault on my feeds. Texts poured in from cousins and aunts I'd known forever, each one laced with the same scripted guilt. Andrew, my cousin from the north side, messaged first. Heard about your little writing project. Family's worried it'll overshadow Tracy's day. Maybe hold off. Then Sarah, Dad's sister, emailed a long note. Kimberly, we're all rooting for Tracy. Don't make this about you, talk to her first. They weren't calling, they were coordinating. Their words echoing Mom and Dad's line like a bad echo chamber. I scrolled through the barrage, my screen lighting up with notifications from Atlanta group chats we'd shared since high school. Uncles chiming in with, think of the family. Neighbors forwarding Rhonda's vague hints about my drama queen phase. It felt like a siege. Every ping a reminder that Tracy's circle had weaponized our past against me. I blocked a few, but the damage spread, mutual friends going silent. Likes dropping on my old posts. I pushed through the noise, focusing on the draft. Patrick suggested going anonymous at first, layering in pseudonyms for the heavy parts to shield us from immediate backlash. Publish under a pen name, he said, leaning over my shoulder as we tweaked the outline on the kitchen table. Let the words hit without the target on your back. We mapped it out, sections on the torn notebooks, the rigged contests, the way Mom and Dad's praise always tilted Tracy's way. No names at launch, just raw truth wrapped in enough distance to breathe. I nodded, adding a line about chosen bonds over blood ties, drawing from our life together. Patrick squeezed my arm. This could change things for you, not just catharsis, real exposure. We talked future too, over takeout that night. Once it's out, he said, we build from there. My editing contacts in the city could line up gigs. No more scraping by on freelance scraps. I pictured us in a bigger place downtown. My name on a book cover. Free from the pull of suburb expectations. It wasn't escape. It was elevation. The kind they'd never understood. The real pressure peaked that evening with Dad's call. I let it ring twice before picking up, steeling myself. Kimberly, he started, his voice gravelly from years at the warehouse. This story nonsense has to stop. Tracy's a wreck, stressed out, barely sleeping because of what you're stirring up. I paused, remembering her latest Instagram reel from a spa day, all smiles and champagne toasts. Stressed Dad. That's not the full picture. He barreled on, Mom murmuring in the background. We're cutting you off if you post it. No more holidays, no calls. Think about what you're doing to us. Mom grabbed the phone. You've always been the competitive one. Tracy doesn't need this reminder of old fights. Competitive, I'd spent decades shrinking to fit their narrative. It's my story too, I said, my tone even. And if stressing her out means facing truth, maybe that's the point. Dad cut back in. You're breaking the family. The line went dead. I set the phone down, the silence heavy but clarifying. Their threats weren't chains anymore. They were the push I needed. With the draft locked and anonymous, I scheduled the publish for dawn, one click away from unleashing it all. Dawn broke with a single click. The story went live under my pen name, slipping into Atlanta's online circles like a whisper that grew into a roar. By noon, shares hit the local writer groups, then spilled into family Facebook threads. I watched from my laptop, heart pounding as comments rolled in, women from suburbs like ours sharing their own sibling rifts, men nodding at the favoritism Dad's generation ignored. Patrick brewed coffee, glancing over. It's resonating, keep an eye on the metrics. We didn't celebrate yet. The real test was coming. That night, my phone lit up with Tracy's name. I answered, expecting another round of demands. Her voice came through shaky, not the confident tone from her wedding updates. Kimberly, I read it. A beat of silence stretched, broken only by her uneven breathing. Everything you wrote, it's true. Isn't it? The way Mom and Dad always picked me, even when I didn't deserve it. I leaned against the counter, the apartment quiet except for the hum of the fridge. Yeah, Tracy, it is. She let out a breath, almost a laugh but edged with something raw. I was jealous, always have been. Your words. The way people listen when you speak, it's what I wanted but could never grab. Jealousy. Out in the open. But no apology followed. No, I'm sorry for the smirk. Or, let's fix this. Just the admission hanging there, heavy as the humid Atlanta air. But this timing, she added, voice hardening. My wedding's tomorrow. You had to drop this now. I didn't flinch. Your timing started it. Excluding me was your choice. She paused again, then whispered. I guess I earned that. The call ended without goodbyes, leaving me staring at the screen. Her words confirmed what I'd known envy had driven her. But change, that was on her, not me. The next morning, as Tracy's Miami ceremony kicked off, the story crossed state lines. Atlanta influencers picked it up, threading it into threads about toxic dynamics in Southern families. By afternoon, national sites linked back. Quotes pulling from my lines on chosen versus blood ties. Patrick refreshed the dashboard. Over 10,000 views already. Your inbox is blowing up. Offers trickled in, podcasts wanting my take. A therapist blog inviting a guest post. I replied to a few, the rush mixing with a quiet vindication. This wasn't sabotage. It was spotlight on truth they'd buried. At the reception hall in Miami, Tracy slipped away from the toasts, her gown brushing marble floors as she checked her phone. The screen glowed with alerts, not bridal congrats, but floods of shares tagging her indirectly through family connections. Guests murmured, pulling out devices, whispers turning to questions. Is this about your sister? One aunt asked, eyes wide. A cousin scrolled aloud, reading snippets that hit too close. Tracy's face paled, the celebration fracturing around her. Bridesmaids exchanged glances, the DJ's playlist fading under the hum of speculation. She forced a smile for photos, but the damage seeped in old friends texting doubts. Vendors pausing mid-convo to glance at feeds. The $800,000 dream, meant to eclipse everything, now shared space with my words. Unavoidable and unignorable. The murmurs at Tracy's reception turned into a storm overnight. By evening, the story crested national waves, picked up by lifestyle sites quoting my lines on sibling envy as a Southern staple. Atlanta's creative scene exploded, local podcasts embedding audio versions, book clubs in Midtown debating it over wine. Patrick monitored the surge from our balcony. "You're at 50,000 reads. Agents are emailing." I sifted through the inbox. One from a New York editor standing out. "Your voice cuts deep. Let's talk book deal." We scheduled a call, her questions probing the raw edges I'd exposed. "This could be a memoir," she said. "With your platform, we're looking at advances in the mid-five figures." The number landed solid. A lifeline beyond freelance gigs. I signed with her firm by week's end, outlining expansions on family fractures and rebuilding solo. Tours in the Southeast followed. Readings at indie bookstores where crowds shared their echoes of my pain. From those talks emerged the Fund Truth Overties, aimed at writers sidelined by family doubt. We launched it quietly, seeding grants for Atlanta voices like mine, covering workshop fees and editing help. First recipients messaged thanks, a poet from Decatur who'd hidden drafts from critical parents, now submitting to journals. "Your story gave me guts," one wrote. Patrick handled logistics, his contacts securing sponsors from local presses. It grew organic. Donations trickling from readers who'd nodded along to my words. No fanfare, just quiet impact workshops in community centers, sessions on owning your narrative without apology. Tracy's fallout hit harder. Back from Miami, she faced her agency's HR the following Monday. Clients pulled campaigns, citing the personal drama splashed across feeds. "We can't associate with this negativity." One emailed her boss, linking straight to my piece. Her role in digital marketing, built on polished images, crumbled under the authenticity I'd unleashed. Fired by Friday. She texted Rhonda in a panic, "Help me spin this." But Rhonda, who'd amplified the early smears, went radio silent at first. Then came her call to me, voice cracking over the line. "Kimberly, I saw what happened to Tracy. I pushed those posts, thought I was backing her up. Now everyone's looking at me sideways at work." She'd lost freelance collabs, brands ghosting her social strategy pitches. I listened, the old urge to fix flickering, but it died quick. "You chose sides," I said. "Live with it." She begged for a retraction, something to quiet the backlash. But I ended it there, no bridges, no mercy. The cut felt clean, her regret too late to mend what she'd helped break. Rhonda's plea echoed one last time before I silenced it. I pulled up my contacts, thumb hovering over Mom, Dad, Tracy, each name a thread I'd tugged too long. One swipe blocked them all. No dramatic send-off, just quiet finality. No more voicemails twisting blame, no texts dredging up old wounds. The apartment felt larger that instant, the midtown skyline outside sharpening into focus. Patrick noticed the shift during dinner. "You good?" I nodded, fork pausing midair. "Better than good. It's done." We raised glasses to that simple red wine from the corner store, toasting the space we'd carved without their weight. Months slipped by in a rhythm I'd chosen. My book deal solidified into deadlines met over coffee shops in Buckhead. Chapters fleshing out the fractures I'd only sketched before. Readings drew crowds from Atlanta's literary underbelly, folks nodding as I read passages on envy disguised as love. Patrick and I upgraded to a loft overlooking Piedmont Park, his editing side hustle blending seamless with my tours. Mornings meant joint outlines, evenings walks where we planned expansions, maybe a podcast series on reclaiming narratives. No suburb pullbacks, no guilt-laced invites to holidays that never felt mine. Freedom tasted like that first unchecked morning, sunlight unrestricted. Tracy's unraveling unfolded in fragments from mutuals who hadn't cut ties. The scandal lingered, her ex-fiancé bailing weeks after the wedding, stress from the online firestorm too much for their fresh start. "She changed after Miami," he told a shared acquaintance. Packing boxes amid arguments over her image problem. Job hunt stalled. Atlanta's marketing scene, tight-knit and reputation-driven, whispered her name with caution. Freelance leads dried up, agencies citing recent controversies in rejection emails. Mom and Dad retreated to their rancher. Neighbors in the subdivision pulling back from barbecues. Whispers at church potlucks turned to sidelong glances, their once solid standing eroded by the truth I'd aired. Dad's warehouse buddies joked about that family blog drama. Mom's book club dissolving under awkward silences. Isolation crept in. The kind suburbs amplify no escape without facing the stairs. I heard it secondhand. Piecing together without direct lines. No calls for reconciliation. No olive branches from a sister who'd smirked her way to exclusion. The cut stayed absolute. A boundary I'd finally enforced. Their choices rippled out. Real as any American fallout lost connections. Strained marriages. Reputations chipped in quiet communities where word travels on cul-de-sacs. Looking back. That viral spark wasn't payback. It was ignition. Speaking truth didn't just expose their jealousy, it freed me from performing smallness. The lesson sinks in now when family envy chains you. Breaking free demands owning your voice. No apologies. It teaches spotting the toxic early, the smirks, the tilts, the erasures, and walking away before they define you. For anyone watching, carrying that hidden hurt, cut the cord. Build your circle from those who amplify, not diminish. Your story deserves the light, unfiltered and full, in the end. That's the real legacy, not their regret, but the life you claim without permission.